The first tap of a conductor's wand. The first rivet in a mile-high tower. The master link at the genesis of a never-ending chain. The moment a single empty canvas meets a singular master stroke. There is no one thing. Because now, there are many. Because soon, there will be more. Because one is ever the beginning. Like the first link in an infinite chain, or the first rivet in the tallest skyscraper. The master stroke is found in the masterpiece. What will you begin?
All right, everyone. This is World Blockchain Roundtable. This is episode 138. Welcome, everyone. Our hosts for today are Sean, everyone's best friend. See, I upgraded that to everyone's best friend. Lisa from the Mighty Lair. Greg from Rivet. And I'm Joe, the founder of Dragonchain, and your MC today. Did we get a root? We need to vote on changing the title of MC, right? What did we say? It was supposed to be something. Greg said it needs to be a
Grand Poobah or something.
It needs to be something new for streaming world, right? Updated. Anyway, think about that. First, quick update on last week's layer ownership tokens. The distribution. Every host from last week will receive 1,333 lot. Every topic contributor will receive 500 lot. Last week's theme was nominated by I Am, who will also receive 500 lot. The tokens, these lots, these NFTs come with perpetual passive income in the layer itself for all the activity there, free edits, which is super important, and then governance votes. Another update, there is a suggestion, is this right? Suggestions for February themes. So get in there, leave some suggestions for next month. I don't know what's coming next month, but So month 2, we need to know what should the show be, and it can also be overruled. There was even before the show, someone mentioned the possible audible. Should we skip the topic, or should we go straight to current events? And we have, I think there are only a couple of questions, so maybe it would fit. You guys tell me what you think before we start. The topic for today is how many blockchains do we need? Nominated by Dayrox. So what do you guys think? Just go ahead and go with the questions.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't very many. We can bust them out.
All right, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to refresh the page. You can see my votes because I voted on these questions. I always vote everything up the same unless there's something crazy going on. Wait, am I not logged in? Oh, I haven't voted them up yet. Okay, so I'll vote them up as we go. Anyway, so the first question from Dayrox. Also, so he'll get double credit since he gets on the show, right? As long as it's a good question. My questions are very simple. Why are there so many blockchains, and which ones really matter? Right. So who should start that? Who would we want? What do we think here?
Great.
I'm happy to take a whack at that one.
Right on. Great.
I think the answer is we don't know, right? Like we have an opportunity to live in a true free market system with this, right? Insofar as the number of blockchains that exist may seem large to you, but if they're supported by enough people, then the market is saying, yes, these blockchains need to exist. So the more that exist and the more that survive, right? Those are going to be the ones that ultimately are needed. And whatever that happens to be, and my hunch is that there's probably a need for a lot more blockchains that haven't been created yet, or that have been created that nobody's heard of yet. It's hard to say. Based on what we've seen so far, it looks to me like we're just getting started in the number of blockchains that are out there, and ultimately it will replace the architecture underlying the whole web. So there are probably many more to come. And that would be my 2 cents.
Very good, very good. Next, We're going to go counterclockwise. Sean, what do you think? Why are there so many? Ah, you're muted. Ah. Oh, he's muted. Oh, there he is.
You know, it's really profound, but that's how I feel, and I'll never say that again.
Yeah,
Nice.
I literally just woke up like 10 minutes ago. I forgot to set my secondary alarms. So I woke up, I was like, I missed it. And I looked at my phone, I was like, I have like 7 minutes. Okay, fine.
This is the best.
And then I get here and Joe's wearing a suit. Yeah.
I did that on purpose.
Yeah. It's a conspiracy. Well, I was up really late last night. Did y'all see what I posted in our group?
Let me see.
I was going to sleep.
I was in bed early last night, so let me see.
This is off topic, but this is really.
Oh, yes, I did see this. I did see that.
So my friends, their accounts got hacked on Facebook.
Oh.
But they posted videos of them saying, "Man, this Bitcoin thing, it is real. I've paid my bills for the month and I have extra money." And it's them. He's walking through the grocery store talking about it. And I was like, oh my God, why are they're saying it's a scam? So then like 2, 3 in the morning when I'm going to bed, my friend messages me. It's like, hey man, how you doing? I'm like, fine. He goes, you seen my stories? I was like, the one about the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin.
Yeah. And then I'm like, yeah, how's that work? He goes, I'll walk you through it. Give him a screenshot. Go to your Cash App. He said, do you have a Cash App? Yeah. It's active. It's like, yeah. But how's it work? And then I'm like just talking shit to this guy. And he's like trying to talk to me like I'm an idiot. And then he's like, you put 1,000 in, and I got 4,500 back. I was like, back? Hey, get it back. Did you send it somewhere? And I finally got him to tell me. I was like, how's the scam work, man? And I was like, how does the scam work? And he's like, it's not a scam, I swear. You put 1,000 in, and you send it, and then you get the Bitcoin bonus, investment bonus back, $2,500. And I was like, oh, you get people to buy $1,000 on Cash App and then send it to your address. It's like, that's a really good scam for people that don't know what they're doing. And I get it, okay. And then it was late. I said the quote from the beginning of Iron Maiden's Number of the Beast. And I was like, your time is short. It's like, you are the devil, my friends.
Wow.
Yeah. So, no, that's not the thing. So I took screenshots of the conversation because I know that they're hitting up all of our friends. And I posted it, and I was like, look, man, don't send your Bitcoin anywhere, and you always have it in a wallet, the usual thing. Within 4 seconds, I had comments of scammers like, oh, you get scammed. This just like in YouTube videos. I found this person and they fixed everything. And all of these, white hat hackers, or in some cases, they were like fake Facebook account retrieval things. All this, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe there's like 10 comments from scammers on my "don't get scammed" post. And that's why we need so many chains, because a lot of them are scams. Also, it's people don't forget to think, or people. I'm really tired. People don't understand how, because a lot of people get into this for number go up and so on, and we're at the beginning of a new asset class, a whole new everything when it comes to that side of it, which we're seeing play out in the courts in what it is and how it's going to be handled. But when it comes to technology, it's a whole brand new technology, and it's growing. So it's not even like semi-finished. We're not even like the improvement stage with secondary chains and all these other things that are coming up and have come up in the past, few years. It's not like improvement. The basic stuff hasn't been done yet. You know, so
Right.
that's one of the reasons why there's so much. There used to be a bunch of car companies, you know, like Tucker, all those other cars. There was when it settled down, and then there is a certain few, and that's how things work now. And with every kind of new technology, that's how it is. Everybody jumps in, and tries to make the best mousetrap. And we're at that stage where like the mousetrap has just been invented. It's a whole new thing, and that's one of the reasons why there are so many. Because we haven't finished the basic structure, the basic thing of whatever blockchain is going to be, and whatever crypto.
I like it. I agree. What do you think? What do you think, Lisa? Why?
Well, I think that kind of leaning to everyone's and agreeing with everybody that it's good to have multiple blockchains. I think preventing monopolies and centralization of power, that's what we're trying to get away from. So I think those are the strengths of having multiple blockchains and opportunities for decentralization, people to have the freedom to go to another blockchain. And like Sean was saying, new ideas to grow, new solutions to be found, because there's not just one way to catch a mouse, to kind of piggyback on what Sean was saying. So I just
Good
agree
point
with
about the right of
everybody here.
exit. Like
Yeah.
people need to be able to leave behind something that isn't working for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. And so I've said this for a while. It's super important because the real meat of what blockchain does, and the vision, hopeful vision, is that you don't need your one blockchain to rule them all, to do all of the things you might need to do. Too often in the blockchain industry in particular, and largely because of the press, maybe the media itself, that the narrative is essentially there's Bitcoin and then there's shitcoins, right? And the fact that, and this is anti-Bitcoin, it's not even anti-maximalist, but it's more than anything, I think they're missing a really big opportunity, which is always going to be there, because if anybody gets it, it'll still happen. Where utility is an important thing, and that's one of the more interesting things. I mean, with Bitcoin, you had so many unique things that had never been possible before, like say in a transparent way to say there are only so many of these, proving scarcity. It's better than precious metals, because you don't know, for meteors and other celestial bodies, what how we could gather more gold, but you don't even know how much is going to come out of the ground this year. You could estimate, of course, but with Bitcoin, it's just so interesting that and everybody knows, and there's no way for somebody else to mess it up. And so
you think about that. Gold? You guys know how they price gold?
How's that?
They price gold not just based on what has been mined, but based on all that could be extracted, based on what's estimated to be in the whole of Earth. So the first time somebody brings back even a successful example of asteroid mining of a similar metal, you make the case there for pricing gold based on what's all in the asteroid belt, in which case the price will plummet. Yeah. But see, like if De Beers had the price by what's in their vaults.
It's still, but it's also, they do another portion of the price is the cost to extract it, right? So you have a huge gap between
it's an actuarial equation, though. Like you can estimate that.
Yes. And so, especially with SpaceX and advancements, but the interesting thing, to get back to the actual meat of the question, is Bitcoin brought that, but it was also supposed to be cash. Now it's, community wise, they pushed it over towards a variety of things. They will say store of value, but they also mean integration into the current banking system and financial systems. That all of that is their vision. They have number go up, cooked into Bitcoin. Yay ETF. We'll get to that later in the show, but that is not everything that blockchain is useful for. There's so many other things, and it's not even that everything was revolutionary. It was the assembly of them into an architecture that allows what Bitcoin and other blockchains do. That is the major historical leap, right? And so what is there though means utility. And I gave a talk where someone asked this before when we were still open source Dragonchain, right? And the reason it's stuck in my head is because the government came in the SEC case and said, "Hey, you said this, right?" Which meant, "Oh, the Dragonchain's a security," you know, and it was hilarious because the question was about the crypto market, and my answer, I even prefixed it with, the crypto market is very uniquely interesting with blockchain involved because the proof, the transparency, the things that, frankly, the now I know the evil in the world doesn't want, right? They don't want you to know. They want to be able to make more over here and, you know, and pretend like they own what you own. But also beyond that, it was a way to actually get a market value of utility. So if I have equity over here, so if I own a piece of this company, but there's also a token that this company uses for its utility, you know, let's say it was something like you get free shoes, but essentially you have to pay tokens to be able to use them, right? You know, whatever it would be, something in the real world where something like that would be possible, all of a sudden, the utility of that coin is totally different than what I might expect for the owner speculating on the ownership of that entity, right? It's amazing stuff. I gave a talk talking about that. That is a huge historical value because that's never existed before. You feel it's like, oh, I can buy a Coca-Cola stock. I don't have any utility. I can only hold it and then trade it. And the utility is completely different than that. And yet
it doubles
they're
into
trying to
exchange
tie
traded
it in.
funds too, right? Like, one of the big key points Gary Gensler had to go out of his way to fucking make when they announced the ETFs, right, was that I believe the underlying asset is only used for criminal conduct, tax evasion, criminal enterprise, drug trading, human trafficking. Well, okay, these are things that are illegal in this country. And if this country decided to make buying actual meat illegal, then you would still be able to buy it with crypto. Yeah, it's good for illegal activity. The problem right now that we have in the world is that the law is being structured in a way that everything you do independently without first asking permission is illegal. And that's the world they're trying to create for us. And that's why they're so scared of this shit.
And so I went way longer than I did, so I'll try to be shorter in the next question for you guys. But that it's interesting that the main point is that this question is so weird that it's even infused in, and it is because of the bankers, the Goldman Sachs, people like that. This question wouldn't even be a question. It would be like in the early internet, for any of us old people that were there, any of the early internet, we like, how do I say this? Did anyone ever ask how many websites should there be? Right? It wasn't that. It was very obvious. It's like there are going to be as many websites as there are interests in the world, right? And that was never a question. We should limit the number of websites. Why? Because that was largely in the industry is very engineering focused. They had pretty much all engineers involved and people that kind of came out of that. Whereas now all these bankers are involved. It's like, whoa. Why do we need another blockchain? It's like, I need to do something. It's like, well, just use Bitcoin. It's like, I can't use Bitcoin. They don't want me to, for one, but I can't do this on Bitcoin. It's like, oh, well, what is this then? Right? It's craziness.
Right.
You did ask, why?
Hey guys,
why do we need?
I feel like we need to call an audible on this question right here because this is an important one. Because I think that quantum is the big Y2K of crypto.
Read it.
It's going to be a big nothing.
Marquivian Or asks, how many post-quantum blockchains do we need?
I think that's what I was saying. Though, we don't know. This question can't be answered yet.
Well, no, it can be. Actually,
I think it's part of the evolution of, like I was saying, blockchain. It's not done yet. You know,
but here's the thing, guys.
It was like, when do we not need leaded gas?
Few people know this, but upgrading to quantum blockchains is going to be easy. Every blockchain will do it. It will be a hard fork on every block. Oop. You guys
No, it was. I think Sean cut out.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Yeah,
I was just saying, like, seriously, quantum blockchain or quantum safe blockchain is going to be something that every blockchain just upgrades to. And it'll be akin to getting the Y2K update done, right? Everybody had to do it. It didn't cause planes to fall out of the sky. We will absolutely get to a place where quantum blockchain needs to happen, but it's going to be more like everybody does a hard fork.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, I'm no expert on quantum, of course, but I would say generally the reason that we cite, the technical reason that we cited, outside of business or use case or cultural, essentially Dragonchains, and I generally think that this, as a macrocosm, like the big picture of crypto, this applies. But specifically at Dragonchain, we've tried to work towards, imperfectly always, exploiting for our level 5 interchain security as many algorithms as possible. We didn't typically focus on, although, like, say, especially if you're doing staking, then the market cap's important, right? If you're doing proof of work, then the hashing algorithm and the amount of power, Bitcoin, how much hash power is applied. Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin Cash or one of those other close ones is the highest hash power anywhere in the world, orders of magnitude above even at Ethereum's height, right? It was always
exponential randomness, basically.
Right. And with Ethereum, we love that they now are on a proof of stake algorithm, because essentially we have a proof of work, we have a proof of stake. I would love to get Litecoin in there, actually, because it is a separate proof of work algorithm that is algorithmically intended, to be different. And that's the thing for me. If we're talking about security and things like this, Bitcoin or not, you need to look at that big picture to say, okay, here's the entire marketplace. If not only the thing is obviously seen as, if this network went down, and we've seen it in the past, miners will shift over to this other one, which has a compatible algorithm, right? So frankly, the way that those threads go, you want as many of those algorithms as possible, because some of them are likely. I have
makes another case for many blockchains, actually.
Exactly, and it's like, that's why Monero, whether or not you care about the anti-censorship or any of that, for security alone, Monero is a massive importance, as are other privacy chains, and as are the things that where they either have like Hashgraph, right, where it's not a blockchain. We need as many algorithms and proof of work, various consensus models as possible,
right?
Because that's going to weather the storm. One of them, and I kind of doubt any of them will have a massive
breach
issue architecturally. But there's many things untested.
Right. And mathematically speaking, there are already quantum safe algorithms that could be being used that just aren't.
And
so
in my opinion,
more like a
you'd want to
software
use as many as you could.
Research project.
Yeah, and you want to use as many as you could, because some of them, in particularly anything that is mathematic related and not structural. That's how I break these things down. Like something like some of the zero knowledge stuff. There are unknown risks. Nobody knows if some of this might fail, and so you want to make sure that when you're building something that you have, that's a part of the input. You might decide, okay, we don't care about that for this type of data, so it can use that. But
that's one of the neat things and important things about open source too, because one of the problems that even the Y2K virus had was the fact that a whole bunch of people had to go and learn to dust off some proprietary COBOL that probably wasn't properly commented, right?
That was
so they had to figure out how to change the date to support 4 zeros, right? We changed these algorithms to support quantum security, and we've solved the problem. And this update will be happening in an open source world. This could happen anytime between now and, someone could propose an EIP that did this for Ethereum tomorrow, right? Or someone could do the same for Bitcoin, or someone could do the same for any other chain out there that isn't not actively being developed because it's dead.
Yeah. So are you saying that, like, as quantum computing comes to fruition, that it would actually improve the blockchain? Like, it would it would be applied to these blockchains and could update the algorithms,
pretty trivially.
strengthen the blockchain.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like a hard technical change.
There, by the way, there were some really interesting proposals. I can't remember which project it was, but it was all the Bitcoin community way back. There was one that I loved that I never saw implemented, but I'm like, oh my God, it was brilliant, and it was super simple. And it was essentially a consensus algorithm that requires some type of round robin usage of a particular algorithm. So essentially, you could make very inefficient algorithms. You could make ASIC ones. You could make memory bound ones. You could do all these different things to break up the mining. And essentially, every block would deterministically decide which algorithm is assigned for the next block.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, and you probably would want to phase out elliptic curve as a choice if you have a post-quantum world happening where there's enough qubits out there to hack a blockchain.
Yep. And that's the beauty. It would be, and there are a lot of other solutions like that, but I'm like, man, why didn't they plug that in? That would have been a beautiful thing for the Bitcoin network. But anyway.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they were already quantum safe. Like, I think that should probably be like, if you're talking about long-term stability in a project, if they wanted to make a PR-like development announcement over the blockchain foundation, it should be the focus on getting quantum safe. We're thinking that far in the future. We're thinking about it the right way.
Okay, we'll go to the last. Sorry, we went along on that. It's also Dayrock, so you get one credit, but won't such a large number of cryptocurrencies cause more supply than demand, and the cryptocurrencies will become worthless? So
many of them will be worthless.
Yeah.
In the sense that they won't cost anything more than fees to move around, but that doesn't mean they won't be necessary for a digitized economy. Right? Yeah, many of them will be worthless.
Yep.
People won't trade in, robot arm 137 coin. That will just be something that happens in an automated process.
And I would say, if you think of it in terms of like a segmented curve or something, that you might have a more granular set. If we have 100,000 of these, someone will be focused on things that everybody's looking at, just like websites, but that they'll feed into something that the value has nothing to do with how many of them there are. You might need more of them. The more value you have, but
we have an example actually.
If for instance there was only one thing needed, then Bitcoin would be the one, and all the same value would be applied. But I think the broader capability would be missed. You'd probably be missing definitely more than half.
I have a perfect example, Joe, that I'd love to share with you guys.
All right.
Rivet sort of shelved a project or we tabled it for now because the regulatory side of it can still be weird, even though we have a perfectly utilitarian use case for a token. Imagine you buy credits on Rivet and then you can extract them into a token that would allow you to move them to another account on Web3, right? And then you connect that account to Rivet and you use your requests. They have absolutely no monetary value because you can buy them from us for 100,000 per dollar, right? Or per DAI, whatever you want to use. Yeah, they're still valuable. They just have unlimited supply, and they represent the ability to use our service. So, like, these are the kinds of things that people don't use blockchain for yet, but they will.
Yeah. Yep. So much to go. And Sean, Lisa, what do you think about the value and total?
I mean, I think the free markets decide that kind of stuff, right? I mean, they'll go where the use case is. I'm hoping. I know we had our lesson in number go up, but I don't know. That's kind of where I land on that.
Also, getting back to my point in the beginning, you're talking about supply and demand. There's no one's in crypto. I mean, that's obvious from what happened to me last night. Nobody knows. Yeah,
Can we buy Gary Gensler a mini-me?
The stupid, send your Ethereum to this address and you'll get back, twice as much. It's just evolved to this new thing for people that don't know, because we've the picks and shovels are out there. Everyone can buy crypto, on Cash App and PayPal and other places. So it's not like a few years ago where that entry level was so hard. It's simple now, and people don't understand it. So
The scams are happening in email with little old ladies in
my
their
point
bank
is that
account.
people
It's
know
not
that. People
just
understand
crypto.
that
Means
they
little
don't have
ladies
a relative
are
in
losing more
Kenya that's
still.
a prince,
Yes.
or the odds of that are negligible. And people don't understand anything about Bitcoin because we don't have people in. So when real adoption happens, like email, I literally thought that may have been real 20 some years ago when I got the email that I could have I was like, no, that's weird. Because I'd never, like, the thought never entered my mind that this could be a scam, that someone would use email. It was just like a new, form of mail. But my point is, when you talk about supply and demand, we don't have the supply yet that people can fathom. When everybody's in it, when everyone is using it, when everybody knows what it is. So the demand is going to have to be huge. But like I said, a lot of them will be, worthless. But I don't think we have enough when it comes to like demand of,
we're talking about getting the layer 0 saturated with users before. Sean's talking about something really interesting there. There's this theory in the evolution of technology where you need a base layer of saturation before a certain thing can happen. Like everybody had to be using email before it was possible to do PayPal because they did payments by email. So it was completely useless until all the people were on email, right? Like, and everyone had to be on PayPal before eBay would work properly, right? And so on. Like you can actually chase technology from densely used back and find out where like the base technologies are. That's why we're still at this place, but one day we will be able to support the use of blockchains for trivial matters, right? It won't cost anything, and that'll be good.
And frankly, I want to add to that because it's very interesting when you think about it from that perspective. To look at what effect these stumbling blocks that we've have been that they've entirely been state-based government regulations where they were intentionally placed. And it's pretty rare in history to see something like that in an industry because, like, say, with the internet, the same people that have been attacking us now with the internet just position themselves in a natural environment. They all just like, well, we want to own this. It's like a lot of them came in late. That's why I worked out of Seattle for a while, because Disney had essentially farmed out all of their website stuff to this rocket company in Seattle, who I knew one of the original guys there, and he was a sponsor of Dragonchain. He was great. Essentially Disney at some point realized, it was like, oh crap, this startup owns Disney.com and owns all of the everything, right? And so they came in and just bought the company, right? So and that's why I worked in Seattle for Disney. So you think about it, they just all positioned themselves. They didn't do what, for whatever reason, they've done to us. So it's going to be an odd thing. It likely stunted our early growth, but maybe it will have made us stronger in some ways in the end, because we aren't going to trust any of them anymore. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, we'll be teaching them hard security because they've been attacking us.
Oh my God.
That. They've been attacking us publicly, and we've had to explain ourselves publicly. Can
I say that without any? It's like, no, I have no thoughts to do this. It's not like I'm going to say in Minecraft what I'm about to say, but why has the SEC been left alone by Anonymous and the groups that would be in the 2010s equivalent of that stuff? Where have they been with all this? It's kind of an interesting thing. Have they been quelled? Were they entirely from the same people?
Well, maybe they were playing the art of war nicely, right? Like, you don't attack if you can't win, and every act of war is an act of deception. Maybe the right strategy was for them to stay out of it, right? You substantiate the case for this being mostly for criminals if they stand up for it too overtly.
Yeah,
Like when your
except the
enemy's
funny thing is,
destroying themselves, get out of their
well,
way. Get out
the
of their
fact that
way.
the criminals are the people, they're not, they are oath breakers. The people in the all, whether you go to the finance committee all the way up to the supposed
Oh,
representatives, all the way
we're
down to the
represented by pedophiles right
executive
now, guys.
branch,
I mean,
where
shit, there's nothing.
and I've not watched like CFTC or any of those other groups as much as I have the SEC, of course, because the SEC has attacked me. But you have to wonder, they've broken oaths. They've even in recent judgments they've been cited for what is unlawful. I can't remember what the exact word that was used, so I don't want to allegedly whatever. Gary, don't sue me, but the ridiculous stuff that they've done is unlawful, and so he's like, man, it's so odd. There's not even any gray area there. It's obviously out. So anyway, Lisa, do you have more to say on that? I don't know if I cut into your.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. Just when their enemies destroying themselves, maybe you get out of their way. It seems like Gary, when you look back on the history of the SEC, Jay Clayton and all those Hinman, all those guys were really who went after this industry, and then they got out. They're gone. They disappeared and left little Gary to take all the hits. Gary's the one that's getting all the dirt flung in his face. He's at the back of the.
Well,
but he was always there for that to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Well, he paid for the dossier, the Steele dossier.
Oh yeah, he wrote the check.
He wrote the check out of Hillary's funds.
CFO.
All that, I mean, we allegedly. Gary,
that was
don't
a great
me
line
either.
Yeah. I can't remember who the rep was.
We all need that shirt, I guess. But I put in the private chat. I was watching a video yesterday. They were talking about having a hearing about the slush funds, and there was, oh gosh, where did it go? They were talking about like when Christie was like an AG, or he was something, and he had them, the settlement slush funds, go to he ordered them to be paid to like his college fund something. Like, so there's these settlements that are done in these these 3-letter agencies go after, and then they're beat down. These businesses, startups, whatever, are beat down by things that are not even our Congress or laws or whatever. And then they get financially destroyed to the point that they can't defend themselves any longer. They have a settlement, pay a fine, whatever. And then where do these funds go? Well, come to find out, there's these giant slush funds that then are, and one of the guys that's on the very Dow did some work, and in the SEC, there's something where, and I can't remember, I think it's like anything less than 200 million doesn't have to go back to the Treasury. I'll have to do the rest of my research on that. I'm just kind of going off memory, but I'm pretty sure it stays in the SEC's fund. So they would be motivated to go after smaller groups and target smaller businesses, whatever, startups, because then they get to keep those funds, and then they get to direct where those funds go to their little trust deals or their little, college private entity things or whatever. It's just more reasons why we need transparency, and we need accountability and enforcement. And those are the things that we're really missing right now the most. Those 3 things: transparency, accountability, and enforcement.
Totally agree.
That's what I had to say about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's funny too, because Gensler always harps on transparency as if he's the champion of it.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, when you look, you literally had Hinman on the payroll of the law firm that was hired by the Ethereum Foundation. And then on the other side, Joe Lubin pointing with his elbows, apparently, at who they should look at, right? Which, you know, and I know during that time period there were multiple articles which I disagreed with, by the way, but they always say, well, any exposure is good exposure, right? Well, these articles, like I can't remember which publications, but they were major publications that would cover crypto, and they were how Dragonchain was the Ethereum killer and all this, and there were multiple of those. So maybe Cryptograph was one of them, but it was, you know, because I remember the graphic. Anyway, supposedly he pointed out that you guys should go look at Dragonchain and other projects that were directly in competition with his Goldman Sachs
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
design. So it's just
Would
craziness.
not
So
surprise me.
yeah. Anyway, so I guess we can go straight to. Let me see here. We can go straight to current events. You guys ready with that? Do you want me to play anything in between, or just go straight there? Up to you guys.
I don't know. Can we get a Julian Assange lead in?
Oh, let's do it. That's perfect. I love it. Always. I'll have to find it, of course. I'm not expert at this, but let's see here. Okay, ready? We'll do this. Stay on. We're gonna go straight into current events.
While nuclear weapons states can exert unlimited violence over even millions of individuals, strong cryptography means that a state, even by exercising unlimited violence, cannot violate the intent of individuals to keep secrets from them. Cryptography is the ultimate form of non-violent direct action.
Free Assange. Okay.
Yeah. My theory is that they're so against letting him out because he'd become an immediate advocate for the cause of crypto. He'd be our freaking Glenn Greenwald right now if he were out talking.
Yeah, man, he's gonna get out. Okay, so I have two things. So of course, Bitcoin ETF, right? But also the New York tunnels, and the reason I had the New York tunnels is because I have a particular thing about the show that I wanted to share about that. So anyway, is there anything else we should add to that? Any other current events? Just want to make sure nothing.
Well, I guess we didn't have a chance to talk about the hack of SEC's account.
Well, that'd be that's in the ETF, I think.
Okay, that counts. I guess that counts as part of the ETF.
Okay. So those are the two. If we can add anything as we go, especially from the audience, right? So, what do you think? What first off, Bitcoin ETF. Who wants to talk about it? Is there anything,
I'm just frustrated that people are so excited about it.
I can explain why they are.
Well, because they want number go up. They think it's
this
adoption.
is about volume go up, man. This is about volume go up.
Oh.
This puts enough people in crypto that you can't make the case that it's a minority of the country anymore.
There are some good things we should need to consider about it, and we can accept victory. I'm not one to feel like, oh, we've won pretty much ever, because I've never experienced that in the real world.
You also just handed Bitcoin over to the manipulators, though. Now it has become now is paper.
It's a weird thing.
You can still freely buy it.
Here's the thing,
sure, but the majority of it will be held and can be created now by the elites. So it is the paper Bitcoin. It will be manipulated from this
I agree.
Forward.
My theory is we're going to have 21 billion Bitcoin. You're like, no, Joe, you mean 21 million? It's like, no.
You can have infinity Bitcoin now.
But that's going to be like a commodity, right? They're trading it like a commodity based ETP.
But that's still manipulated. So anybody who's been in this for a number go
They've
up.
always told us the truth, right?
Now it might go up a little bit, of course, but they're going to control. And the reason is now they'll be able to control the outside markets because they have all the volume. So they're going to be able to say, with our 21 million Bitcoin, for some reason the trades have been this way. And it's exactly what they do with gold, exactly what they do with silver, and apparently exactly what they do with every other smaller stock out there in the world. They do short sales. They do all
Well, except
types
for
of
they're going to have to
crazy
value it
stuff.
like to value gold in the ground. They're going to have to value the
Make
entire
shorts.
trove of unmined as one unit. Unless they increase that number at the chain level, they haven't increased the supply.
Yeah, there is a difference here, which people don't talk about when it comes to the negatives of it. I think they're going to try and manipulate it like that, like they have silver. But the point is, and we're getting to the point in history where we've allowed them, air quotes, to defile so many things. You can say I've said this on me and Lisa's show. You can say what you want about the last election, what side you're on. You think it was stolen. You think it's real. Nobody can argue the point. So the point is very rarely ever made that there's only 150 million registered voters, but there were 180 million votes, because there's no way you can argue around that there's any kind. It's something that needs to be looked at.
Right, that's true. That is the underlying fact that makes it suspicious.
Yes, and that's what the beginning of the January, the date is what it was. People were just saying, "Hold on, we need to look at this because this looks weird."
Right.
And it
Just
wasn't
look at
about
the numbers.
rolling out democracy. It was just about, why is everyone moving so fast when there's this obvious issue that needs to be looked at?
Yeah, this is like a huge red flag from an accounting standpoint.
And you can't. And the accounting standpoint is what I'm talking about. You can manipulate it or try to, but in the end, we don't know how much gold there is in the ground. We don't know how much silver there is in the ground. We do know there's only so many Bitcoin.
I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. Obviously, they aren't going to be able to change the. Well, they could. They pulled the developers once.
Like you said,
Well, no,
we're going to be a billion. We're going to be a billion Bitcoin
let's
holders.
assume that let's assume
the
crypto world, please, is not so stupid as to accept. It's like, oh, they hire people in who then take over the Bitcoin dev, and then they just make more Bitcoin. That's not the avenue they're going to go. Let's just assume that they aren't going to go that way.
Well, I mean, and there is a good picture of a post new Bitcoin world that can exist.
I'm not talking about what shows up there, because what shows up there is what's really there. That's the beauty of Bitcoin, right? The problem isn't that. The problem is that you're going to have, and when I talk about utility, there's no other utility for Bitcoin. Otherwise, this would be a much more complex answer. But Bitcoin is the one thing. It's essentially a stock now, right? And it's a stock in that thing. And so you're sitting there.
Shares in the fund. Shares in the funds holding it. Yeah.
But here's the thing. What you're going to see is 99% of all of the trading volume, which is the only utility of this thing, is going to be from this ETF, from ETFs. I 11 of them, however many there were. That's an interesting number, right? How do I say this? All of those will be providing all that volume that matters for what this thing does. And so, yes, you might still hold a Bitcoin, let's say a tenth of a Bitcoin on the outside. I have a unit of Bitcoin. So I know how much it's worth, right? So in the pre-ETF days, and especially if you go back to before 2015, when it became easy to do, to trade them, and it was easy to manipulate that then, but it's not going to be as easy as what they're doing now. That back then you had a lot of volatility. We could all buy in when there was very little of it, and I was stupid. Yes, maybe my entire argument here is backwards, because I bought in for the utility to understand how to use. I guess I've generated more value than if I would have kept all the Bitcoin that I gave away and gave to just to show people how it worked, right?
Right, just to have a sense, because it used to be throwaway. You'd send it to people to show them how it worked.
Yep, which is why it became valuable, by the way, too. But it's just because people were doing something at least with it. Frankly, it was an interesting utility back then. But it's an odd thing, because
crypto,
they're going to say that 90% of all these trades, like, well, obviously they happen over here. They're not going to be on chain. Why? And everybody knows this, because even the Bitcoin maximalists know that not everything's on. All the trades aren't on chain. They're all in some central exchange, and then you see when a withdrawal deposit. So you're going to see a bunch of those types of transactions. It says, oh yeah, this gigantic multi-billion-dollar trade volume that happened today, that all happened here, and here's the result. You don't get any of the transparency of that. And so what you guys are talking about is, yes, I can always prove that I have a real Bitcoin. What I can't do is control or have any understanding of what those trades that they're entirely doing amongst themselves with, by the way, thousands more Bitcoin than really exist, cheating all of their, how many Jamie Dimon would never cheat.
Well, and look how many of them, I just shared, how many of them are on Coinbase.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to set that price.
Yeah.
So
what's happening one Bitcoin internally?
Because it's traded in ETF is going to be totally, they're going to take out any volatility, good or bad, so that's good for a lot of people, but they're going to control the price. So the whole point of why everybody wanted all this integration wasn't real, because it has no technical value when you're just integrating Wall Street on top of a real chain. You're not expanding the chain or anything else. And number two, if you're just breaking the difference of what this tech does, you're just tying it into Wall Street, saying, oh, yep, same as a stock. It's an ETF thing.
And I think that's why our job changes a little bit post ETF as a community, right? To a certain degree, broad adoption is now has to be one of our biggest goals, because we have to have enough out there to counterbalance.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. That is very true. Yep.
So
because I think it's essentially we have to somehow mentally, this is super hard, mentally reset yourself to 2015, 2016. And, what were you learning, right? Which you now know, which is excellent. But that thing is like, what did you learn? What were you just newly understanding? That's the stuff that you need to communicate to people. You already have that answer. And by the way, here's
we're back to fundamentals, essentially.
Right.
Ironically, there was no noise around know your keys, not your keys, not your coins this year on January 2nd.
Why is that?
I did not hear a single thing about it this year.
Huh.
This was the first year
DMs.
I did not hear a thing about it.
Well, that should be the message, man. That should be the message.
It should
have need to be, but frankly, I always have the bad side of me thinks there's some element that they also don't mind those risks, because guess what? If grandma and grandpa commit all their life savings to something because it's an ETF now, it's just all safe. Doesn't matter as a hack, and they say, well, obviously it's different. It's Bitcoin. That's the mode. They get someone who's not technically, it doesn't have to be an old person, but not technically simple, and they basically throw these people curveballs, and they just think, oh, sure, we should do this, and the powers that be will love when that happens, because it'll be another black mark on crypto, right? That's how they do everything.
I don't think that, though, when you have huge asset managers whose reputations are on the line with it, I don't think you're going to have JP Morgan and Vanguard and all these players out there who are going to have ETFs, right? I don't think you're going to see them doing anything more than defend it with everything they have. And we know they own people in power.
They just blame their traders.
The underlying asset needs to be
blame the guys that work for
them to continue to operate with it.
Same thing they did with the silver traders.
We have a shared motive, defend the integrity of it.
I would call it
employees.
Alleged fraud, right? But essentially twice in history, once a few years ago, and then most recently when they were going after that ETF, that he testified under oath that Bitcoin was super evil. Bitcoin and all
that's
crypto.
Jamie Dimon, who could get fired.
Jamie Dimon. Well, that's the thing, though. He specifically called it out as horrible and evil while his traders were selling his customers that horrible and evil stuff. He should be called out for fraud. There has to be something.
Well, I mean, certainly either defrauding the Congress or defrauding the people. Right? He's either lying under oath.
His customers,
or
his customers. I don't think you can knowingly as a bank sell a product to a customer that you think is fraudulent.
You think is evil.
Yes.
Right?
Well, he called it out for criminal and fraudulent. And
he repeated the Windsor line. That's the anti-crypto army line, man.
that has to be something that is not legal. Anyway,
That's their
whatever.
PR point. Like they're all saying that. It reads verbatim what Gary Gensler wrote in his statement approving it.
Yep.
So there's nothing there. I can see your point. If Jamie Dimon is the one in charge and he can't be taken down, and his company has one of the ETFs, what are they going to do? Right? Are they going to use it as an opportunity to make money? Like somebody who wants to make money is going to make money at it, which would be like, don't kill the golden goose if you want it to continue.
I don't
to pay,
think they.
right?
I don't think they think
Like,
of this as a golden goose.
I think. But if they don't, they're
they
stupid because it's an ETF. Like ETFs make money over decades. They're like guaranteed revenue for these people.
Nothing compared to the value that should be there and is
Well,
there.
Well, Dimon, he talks to the uninformed. He says like crazy stuff, but people don't call him on it. I got a video of my StreamYard, and he's at the Olympics or some kind of sporting event or something. Anyway, he's on this panel, and they're like, blah blah Bitcoin. He's like, yeah, and he's like, what? You don't think Bitcoin? Blah blah blah. And then he said, there's only there's so many 20-some million and blah blah blah. He goes, how do you know that? How do you know there's only 20-some million? Huh? Maybe when it hits this one block, then Satoshi's gonna pop up and be like, nah. And now there's 100 million. And then the guy's like, man, okay. He's just talking out of his butt. But people, he just sows the seeds of mistrust by just throwing it.
Right. What he leaves out is the fact that you have to get consensus on a chain that barely ever makes any update, let alone the quantity.
And if someone just said that to him, then he would quit talking so much crap.
It is something that in the early days, it was very hard to describe all those pieces together because you have to get. I remember it's a very smart guy, but I was asked to explain it on a whiteboard by a lawyer who was a partner, something that we were working on, and this would have been 2012, something like that, and it was hard to explain to a very traditional lawyer how it works. I got him, I know he, I'm not good enough at describing something like that to get someone to understand it that quickly, but I guarantee he understood far more than any of his lawyer friends because, I worked all the way down to how a hash works,
right?
How a block works, how the chain itself works, and then the consensus is the part. So you have to understand all this technical stuff, but then you have to step back and then
look at the consensus layer, right? Because it's another layer of security.
Totally different thing, and that's why it's and things unknown back then that are almost measurable now would be what's the likelihood that something that a social attack would work, right? Or an algorithm, something that is a consensus attack.
Right. Very, very difficult to do, though.
Right.
Like but that's the idea that you're going to be able to get a hard fork approved that changes the quantity of Bitcoin out there. Like it's like asking the warden for more funds, right? You're not going to get to build your library, Andy Dufresne.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, Greg, because you think about it, that's why infinite money matters, and that's why this is the ultimate target for the owners of infinite money, because it's the one threat in the entire world to their monopoly, right? Is crypto.
So if you're thinking,
what do you do?
Right, but their infinite money fantasy is based on a paper foundation that will collapse. I know they're all Keynesians, but like
ticking time bomb. We know. Hopefully soon, anyway. Frankly, but no. The point is they've attacked it, and I think they killed Bitcoin literally by taking not from the network, but from the.
Right, but they didn't kill it if the dollar is also dead this year.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure that the dollar is going to be dead.
I'm not saying Bitcoin obviously isn't without value, and it has unique position. But the fact that Bitcoin, the devs were taken over, right? So anyway, okay, what's the new current event?
New current event is the debt service on the U.S. Budget is now greater than that of the military. So there's only one greater expense than debt service in our tax base. And that's our social programs. But it's rising so rapidly that this will not be the case for very much longer. In fact, this year we may cross the line at the rate we spend. So what happens next tax season when you can look at the numbers and say all we're doing is paying part of the debt service and the rest is being printed?
reality. I don't know. Is that
like, are taxpayers going to be willing to pay for just the interest on an over borrowed credit line?
Well, and before that, there's senators and people standing up and saying, like, look, if we have a treasonous traitor pretendency allowing invasion of our country, we're not funding that treasonous regime with our state's dollars to support that invasion. And so they're starting to push back on that. And so you're starting to see that narrative more and more in the States. The other big topic, I'm jumping ahead before everybody's had a chance. I'll wait. But where's Hunter?
Okay.
Hunter showed up yesterday.
Oh boy, God. That ends up being just one big topic, that whole thing, I think. So it's all tied to everything else. But
it is.
Inflation gets real, man.
Sean, did you answer that one?
As soon as we are paying just the debt service.
The debt service, or did you
Sean
get the ETF?
Probably has something to say about the debt.
ETF. What? Sorry, we're like
what?
all the way back.
Talk about the ETF.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
When you bring up Hunter, I get shell shocked because I've seen his penis.
Why do you have to mention it here? Come on, this is a family show.
Yeah, I said penis.
I'm just joking. We're talking about Hunter Biden on a. I'm joking. I'm just joking.
I love the girl that said, she goes, Hunter, you don't have any brains or balls. And Hunter was like going to his attorney. Didn't she see my laptop?
Right. It's defamation because there are public pictures of his dong everywhere.
I do wish. What was it? I wish I had it up. When he was walking out, yes, I didn't watch any of the proceedings, but I saw the clip where he's running out. And
do you imagine if he sued them for defamation?
The phone camera reporter was asking him if he was on crack, and asking what his favorite was. It was just it was funny, and he smiled. He turned to him and he smiled. They captured it. It was like, that's crazy. And another topic. I saw something last night that there is a crazy thing going on that at the proceedings, and I didn't watch them, so I don't know if he cut out early or what. At the proceedings, they had a high-end camera there. They said it like a Netflix camera that they think that he was filming a reality show,
a documentary
on his life or what's going on, which would be apparently super illegal because it's like you're using. It's a crazy thing. So,
my gosh!
Like I hadn't heard that anywhere. I'm like, Jesus, this is Circus Maximus. I mean, this is the freaking craziest stuff.
It is idiocracy.
Like, there's a bunch of crazy stuff we can throw in here. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the fun part of idiocracy. Anyway,
it's crazy. Well, yeah, maybe a lawsuit by Hunter Biden against the people slandering his dick for defamation.
Jesus. I don't know.
That would be the beginning of idiocracy.
Okay,
like proper in my imagination.
Free Palestine, also.
Please.
Should we get into
Actually, stop? How about we just start with not genociding them?
Yeah,
pretty cool.
Yes. Well, if we could just they need to stop that crap, and we need to stop paying for it. And I don't know anything about it.
Joe brought up the
pretty soon they'll just be printing money for it.
Yeah. What'd you say, Sean?
Joe brought up the tunnels, and he wanted to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we have a very special. I mean, a reason that we care about it is we have reason to believe that John Branch, our MC who has signed up, he hasn't shown up for how many weeks now? He's in New York. I think that he might have been lost in the tunnels, and we need to reach out because I've not heard anything from him. I'm joking, Greg. I'm joking.
I know. I was playing along.
It's too good. It's too good of acting for Greg. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want Greg to get upset.
No,
So anyway,
he's not Jewish, is he?
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know that stuff about people. I thought Sean was. I didn't know.
It was all the. What I saw was the Hasidic Jew.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
I didn't understand what the big deal was for a while, but then I've heard some stuff since then that I don't want.
Yeah, and the stained
really,
mattresses.
but that group has some history of some crazy stuff that you wouldn't expect, and then you think, well, wait, tunnels, and then the reactions and all the rest of it, and my thing is, as it's a tool, observing the world. You pretend you're a philosopher. Observe
like-
the world. And what do you learn from these for whatever reason, the past, year has been nothing but one thing after another that is either geared to separate you from some family member that has some different identification. It's like, I like red shirts, I like blue shirts. That one way or another, everything is either to separate you or to see who's really paying for the people you're listening to.
Yeah.
Or
As
is
you
it
can
to
see-
see who's paying attention? Because
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago them doing the same perp walk after them arresting that same religious group, priests or rabbis or whatever, for religious whatever, for organ harvesting and sacrificial killings
Same
of children, and having, and perp walking them out, and people talking about it, and them finding human meat in some of the
Oof.
Duh. Oh yes.
that was just a few
McDonald's.
years ago. And
Oh God.
now it's
I
like
forgot about
everybody's
that.
forgotten that.
Yep. So that's why I saw that, and I didn't think much of it until I started seeing that. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, it's them. And then, I don't know, the weird thing was that, and I kind of thought this too. I think, okay, it's New York. Obviously it's expensive to do stuff in New York. And if you need an inspection before you change a light socket or something, I would understand a New Yorker saying, yeah, we'll just do it ourselves. Right. And so
Right.
at first I thought it's probably that, but then that wasn't the risk, because that would be the obvious thing to just dispel any potential PR issues that you would think, oh yeah, obviously we didn't want to spend the money on an inspection. We wanted to, try to just do it ourselves. Right. And everyone had accepted it and walked away, but no, they wanted to cover it, fill it with concrete. And then, and this is the part I'm talking about, several, and I had someone, I just listened to this, description of this, and they were bringing this up. So I'm just a layman at this type of thing, but essentially all of these right-wing talk show hosts, podcast hosts, whatever, we're all putting out these obviously scripted, weird explanations. So it's just the teenagers who were told not to do it, but they did it. And what's the other
not
one? Oh, they
talking
did this
about it.
during COVID so that they could go to church. And
Mhm.
and it was like, this was way after COVID. That doesn't make any sense. So you're like, what is it? And so there are a bunch of people talking about that, and that's why it's like, this is such a strange thing that blew up on Twitter. And then all these other weird things attached to it, but I don't know. You don't have to answer.
Also, the reaction. That's
Yeah.
It's like it could be something so mundane and small. Like you're talking to someone and they're just a little weird. Like, what's the matter? Is everything fine? And they're like, yeah, man, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Great, man. Everything's
To me,
fine.
this is in need of some good
All of a
investigative
sudden, you're like,
reporting.
wait a minute. I don't think it's fine. And that's that's the thing. It's like, hey, there's a bunch of what's going on here, and they freaked out, and there was that the riot in the synagogue and all. It was all weird.
Very weird.
Someone should really consider starting a lair dedicated to unraveling this mystery.
This one or all of them, because they're all
This
tied.
one is what I'd start with. It's like have a single issue under investigation at all times in this type of lair.
I wanted to make a post type that would allow you to create an event or an ongoing, so that essentially it would have a different way to organize the thread, and to update. It's like, oh, this happened, and you would be able to
Right, like
post it
have folder objects in the
Yeah.
feed.
Yeah, and
That'd
you
be
can
cool.
then do more subject stuff, but we never got there. We didn't get to build that, so
Not
anyway.
yet, anyway.
Yeah, not yet.
That would be
So-
helpful with all the Native American stuff I'm finding right now. Sean and I have been talking about
really?
it on our show together, because there was all this stuff that started with like the McGirt case versus the state of Oklahoma about like, did this guy have rights, or should the state of Oklahoma have been allowed to like convict him or not because he was on tribal lands and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so it's turned into this big jurisdiction thing. Then now, most recently, one of the things were that Governor Stitt refused federal dollars for like feeding children, or whatever. And people are like, oh, you wanted kids to starve. Well, no, he's not saying that. He's just saying we'll feed our kids ourselves. We're just not going to be beholden to Fed dollars. But the Cherokee Nation, which is like half of the state of Oklahoma, because of other court cases, McGirt was overruled. And so they have more jurisdiction now. A lady that had tribal plates, like, got out of a speeding ticket because outside of tribal lands, because she is tribal, like everything just all over the board right now with jurisdiction. And then Sean and I I was doing more research. Sean and I were talking about it, and I was like, oh, and then look, it says that Indian or tribes have been given not just lands, but power plants, dams, all this. And it's like, wait, what is going on here? So then I started looking into, which this is way woo, but like Trump's last rallies spell the nothing can stop what's coming, which is also like this National Center for Missing Women, Infant, and Indigenous Women, Infant, and Children, or whatever. And then that goes into the diamonds and the Epstein thing and the ovens on the island. And anyway, then I go way into a rabbit hole, but and then Trump said after his hearing 2 days ago, he said Biden and diamonds instead of Biden indictments.
Wow.
So there's a thing like when somebody passes away, you can cremate them and then turn them into a diamond.
Oh yeah.
And recently the Elysian whatever was, this company was paying to send remains to the moon, and the Indian nations were tribal nations were fighting it because they said they were defiling the moon.
That's right. Yeah, I think you brought that up before.
Yeah, like there's this whole thing. There's something wrong there, and I think it has to do with trafficking children. I think it has to do with them. Yeah, that what you just posted, some dark stuff, and I think it's going to come out. But I don't know.
Something I think is interesting is if you go back to what the crazy people were talking about years ago, like when you go back to Alex Jones being the psycho, to fast forward, you're like, oh crap,
frogs are dead.
Didn't he say this? You remember during COVID, that letter of the alphabet said that there was child trafficking in tunnels under Central Park and under New York City,
Hawaii.
So they were specifically saying that they were under New York City and Central Park, and that's how they were storing people and moving them. Which it's just as crazy conspiracy people, but now there's freaking tunnels that people act this way about, and no one can explain it.
Right?
So it's just odd to think back to that, and no one's bringing that up really. That and when specifically they say, "Oh, we made that during COVID," it's that lie, the truth within the lie. So I don't know. I think it's interesting and weird.
And if you read is it the Talmud or the Torah or whatever that like openly states that it's okay to rape children or whatever, and it's pretty horrible.
Yep, they bring up to be said. I've never read it for context, so it's alleged. But I've seen it. It's crazy.
I haven't seen it personnay, but people I trust.
There are a lot of other things in there too that are like, wait, what? But you never know. Also, wow, geez, I want to get into all that stuff. what's in the
But that's why we're in this situation, is because people don't want to look at it, don't want to talk about it, don't want to get into it.
Well, you can't, right?
It doesn't
It's
affect me until they take
that's
your
the thing
kid
they've done.
down in
That's
that
the
hole.
thing they've done is that they have they've made it so that you're just like I have to watch what I say because it's like, well, okay, what? I don't know. It's just craziness. So and I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing that voluntarily to be polite, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, this one's great. I swear I keep hearing you. Just under the floor of my New York apartment. I live at ground level. We have no basement. And then he tweeted, they're usually living under my apartment. I hear them. It's like they're digging or something. For the record, I live at ground level. Not in a basement.
That poor bastard.
Wow.
Some of you owe me an apology.
Wow.
What? I don't know if it's real. It's hilarious, even if it's scripted. But it's funny as hell. So I love that.
Like me with his light bulb and the Russians.
Oh,
You
man.
know, his light bulb is like supposed to have I think it has a speaker or something in it, but he would just be talking. He's like, "Did you hear that, man? My light bulb's speaking Russian." And I was like, "Okay, man." And he gets really agitated and psychotic.
Who is this?
Lee, my friend,
Oh.
the Kiss Crypto.
Yeah.
And then, but then it was happening, and he like put the microphone. And it was these Russian people talking coming out of his light bulb, and I'm like, a speaker is also a microphone. It's probably like a microphone that was put in your Wi-Fi light bulb, and the funniest
like
thing,
overhearing the customer service center.
but he was interviewed in Roger Ver, and then he used to telling people, he's like, the Russians are talking to me again, my light bulb. Roger Ver was like, what? It's like he explained himself. Yeah,
Roger's like, I have bad Wi-Fi. I gotta go.
Well, it reminds me of this this prank that I saw once, where you can buy this little device that will occasionally, like completely on random, well, pseudo random, emit a sound where it goes, "Help me," and you can hide this in your friend's walls, right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God, that would be awesome.
I'll tell you what, we had the early version of that. I think it's a Noyatron or something like this. But it just like, there's one that beeped and then one that would play a certain like audio clip or something short. And one of the guys that worked with me at the FBI, I would essentially hide this. I think I hid it on the bottom of his metal file cabinet or something. And so it took him a couple of months, and he finally found this thing, but they tore apart his entire desk to do it. These things are awesome.
Right?
Saving the world.
I'm sure you can easily make one that was playing like 1,000 different tracks of two Russians arguing.
One of the funniest things ever, and I could say this quick because my kids aren't home, but this was years and years ago, and I got like a brand new printer, and it was a Wi-Fi printer when they just came out, and the boys were hooking it up and going through the stuff, and they turned it on, and I was looking at stuff on my phone, and there was an app and it connected to it, right? So you could print right from your phone, and so they have it set up when they're like trying out the features, and I just type in, "Hello, how are you? I am blah 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 printer." And it's hit it, and they're like, "Dad, printer's talking to us! Oh my God!" And I had this conversation, and I was like, because they're twins. I'm like, "Why are there two of you?" You're like, "Dad, it knows we're twins." And for like half an hour, and I got so ridiculous. Like, who are you talking to? "Oh, it's my dad." And I'm like, "Oh, I hear he's really cool." Still didn't get it. I had it was ridiculous. Yeah, all the printers know your dad's cool, man. It was hilarious. It went way too long, and afterwards, I'm like, I don't know why but they were just so excited that there was this robot printer that I could see them talking.
I love it.
It's like if anybody here has played Cypherpunk 2077, that vending machine you can talk to.
Yeah, I've not. I've not.
That's
See, look, please talk
pretty good quest
about the light bulb, dude. You can get his paranoia from the chat. You can feel it come through.
It's brilliant.
Oh, I was on mute. My dogs were barking, but I saw Kif's comment. That's funny.
That's brilliant. We've had a printer hacked at our office before. And I ended up just throwing it away, right? I didn't want to mess with
Sweet.
burning the firmware or anything. So now you know, but I had no idea. I mean, I knew it was possible. I just didn't think anybody'd ever do it to us. And it wasn't right away, but I realized how it was used. I'm like, oh my God. And then I realized who did it. And I'm like, oh my God, it's an inside attack. So it's like they always are. We didn't lose anything. Just, a little bit of time figuring out what the hell happened. But so funny.
I thought you never wanted to throw them out because they could pull off whatever images you had previously printed or scanned.
Well, there are a couple of weird things.
Like you can drill the hard drive.
Yeah. And there's also, there's so much crazy stuff in color printers and those machines.
I mean, honestly, everybody should do that if they want full privacy. Every time they throw out a piece of electronics, they should find any memory storage devices and just drill a hole in them. Doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
Just wipe it with a rag.
Yeah, you can do that. Hammers and a rag, right? If it has a screen, you have to use a hammer. If it's just if you just plug into it, I don't know if they even know about spinning discs versus not, but then you have to actually wipe it with a cloth. Apparently.
Yep.
I don't know.
You guys
drilling an SSD or a spinning disc will effectively eradicate it.
Were you guys around when that stuff happened?
That show from Office Space, or the scene from Office Space, where they take the fax machine out to the.
Yes, yeah, that was one of the best scenes.
They're lucky they didn't live in like a post Great Reset world because the printer would have tattled on them.
Well,
I mean, I see the police coming arresting somebody. That's going to be a skit. I was like, I didn't do anything. Your refrigerator told us everything.
I was gonna ask if do you guys remember when some of the early WikiLeaks days, maybe not early WikiLeaks, but early the 2016 election WikiLeaks stuff, and then also what happened on Reddit with the Donald, where someone on Reddit went into some forum asking the best way to remove a bunch of emails and they were asking who, and it was for a VIP, right? And then he immediately started deleting stuff, and they captured all of his content on Reddit, where he was the guy who was working for the Hillary campaign who wanted to delete the 33
was it Seth?
Billion emails, whatever it was. No, it wasn't him, but I can't remember the firm.
It's probably Gary.
That whole thing happened just because, and it was internet. It wasn't even blockchain stuff. It was just somebody's like, this is interesting, and then it gets shared, and then it goes viral, and everybody pulls all the data before they can delete it. Crazy stuff.
You need a license for a hammer.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Anyway, all right. What else do we have? Any other?
Well, there is the general happy news of number go up for everybody out there. I'm sure that they're all enjoying the general rise in prices.
Yeah, Ethereum broke 3,500
already.
No, wow. I did that last time when it was like 2,000, and I said 3,000.
It's 2,700 now.
Y'all corrected me. Yeah.
I wonder if it's so what's that mean for fees?
I'm sure that the fees are just still too bad, but if you're holding it already, then you're in good shape. Now the interesting thing about all of this number go up stuff to me is when you look at what happened after the fake ETF announcement to the numbers, right? It was like the perfect example of what regulatory restraint on the growth of value does for a society, right? Like the fact that we had not had this growth yet was simply that they were not following their rules and approving ETFs. And they take this lever off of free market economics. This would have happened if there were no regulatory barriers, right? And the SEC not existing would have meant this would have happened years ago.
Yeah.
And it's forcing a growth in value. So they're sitting here, pulling lid off of the free market restraint and putting it right back on, and you see the numbers start to go up, and then and it's a perfect example of regulatory pressure just preventing economic growth.
True. Well, and I think what if, because you look at this and you see, we see whatever we will see with what happens with this Bitcoin ETF and the real value of Bitcoin, and then you look at what could have been, or you at least consider it. I mean, it's just a mental exercise, experiment, thought experiment, I guess, where you have to think about if Bitcoin didn't have those parameters, it might take longer for it to develop to what I think its real value should have been, which would have been in the millions, easily in the millions. That it's interesting because it would require, though, more of the philosopher warriors, right? Where you can't just be all mental and no action. You can't be all action and nothing behind what you're doing. And that if we had that, obviously, okay, let's say we can even get 30% of the world to actually care about why it works and how it works, it would be massively more valuable than having 100% of people just in it with the money, because they don't understand what's actually there. It's like they're, you're not getting the real value exposed to that. So it is an interesting comparison, and I think continues on. So that experiment is a slow move, but as soon as the general public realizes what this really is, and I think they've been misled. It's almost like it's going to be a red pill, because everybody just thinks, oh, it's a stock. Like,
right.
You have shares of Apple. No, it's like I have shares of Bitcoin. That's all it's going to be. And they don't understand what it could really be used for. And as soon as they do, and that's our magic pill. If you guys really want number go up and you really want to get rich, we need to fucking communicate to the real world, to normal people, what this really is. That they'll see answers everywhere to their daily problems that are all manipulated by people in San Francisco and Washington. So it's like it would change the freaking world, and that means we all get rich. That's what we need to be going after.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the things that we build off of it that people will use ultimately that will make all the difference.
Yep. So
I did put in the private chat. I know we talked about Hunter and his body parts earlier, but it looks like they did vote to hold him in contempt, and so hopefully there will be an arrest soon.
Wow,
he did show up, but they did vote and vote to hold him in contempt.
I'll bet you they ankle bracelet him and let him go home instead of
probably.
Because I mean, he'll get
I'm
the
sorry. It was the very
man.
first one in the link.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
That's another interesting curve.
I
Did you guys see what Ray Epps got sentenced to? Did anybody else see that?
Yeah, that was kind of a joke.
He got 6 months of probation.
Of course.
I gave you a whole list of things, Joe. You got to go all the way up to the top right after the Satoshi Sean. You have
all right. I will get out of that. I'm sorry.
On the one that says Rep Timon's status is the one for the is the Hunter.
Thank you. All right.
One.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
There's Hunter's.
Did they vote to do this? They say they're moving forward.
Yeah, they voted, and is that not the final?
I have no idea. I have no idea how to read this stuff. I used to care about that. It's like, now it's like, maybe it's a flaw in my character, but when somebody hates my guts and they'd rather see me crucified than, actually saying anything in the world, I stopped caring about their language as much, right? Even though some of them aren't horrible, right? Lawyers I'm talking about. I mean, some of them are okay, and some of them are out there that are in it for the right reasons. But holy shit, any of them that you're going to ever meet aren't that, or very few. It's going to take you years to meet one of them, unless you have a friend pointing them out, right? Anyway,
Yeah,
I
he
just kind of
was.
get tired of it too because it's like
It was
it's
voted.
bread and circus. It's wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
they do this,
yes.
but they'll never arrest him. They'll never do anything.
Yeah.
They'll put Banyan in jail, but they won't.
Yeah.
So it's like here.
I want
do this to
also,
people and they'll get excited and they'll think the system works, and it won't do anything.
at the risk of fomenting, so I'm going to prefix this with when in Minecraft, and I'm going to end it in Minecraft as well. I'm not talking about this for the real world, but I do think something to watch for is the difference when people are saying when an outrage, a normal person or even someone who is very knowledgeable about something, in outrage of this incident, mentions in jail. They're always into in jail. When these guys start going to jail, that's when we're gonna really be getting somewhere. The fact that they're saying in jail and not something a lot more heavy pitchfork, torch is
So they end up
is
in
the
news,
switch.
more like it.
Because it's like that's the first thing everybody goes to, and I'm like, do you think treason? I mean, do you think doing what this person did? This like they stole billions from these people. In this latest case, it was at least hundreds of millions, and I think that was just in loss. That doesn't mean who lost how much money and what happened with this this Twitter account hack is total BS. And who's responsible for that? If they'd come after me if I did that. If I was John McAfee and I had a large following and I tweeted something, I know this they would come after me, right? And it wouldn't matter if it was a hack. It's like, oh, it's the intern. It wouldn't matter. They'd come after you, right? Who's going to go after them?
Well,
It's
and forget
crazy.
about money. Maybe when they find out what did happen to those children in the tunnels and why the mattresses are stained, then they won't say put them in jail. Then in Minecraft, maybe they'll get the ropes out.
Well, I mean, it's going to be ugly. What it is going to be ugly.
It already is.
And yeah, no, I mean it is. It's irredeemably ugly. And we are, as a society, going to have to come to terms with all the irredeemably ugly things that are happening in the seats of power. Like that's happening right now. Like, literally, I saw this meme a while back that was like Giga Chad saying you're a stupid animal, right? To a chimpanzee, and the chimpanzee goes, "Aren't you the one who gets locked in a cage or shot to death if you don't pay your yearly tithe to pedophiles?" Like, we're paying taxes to pedophiles right now.
Yeah.
Wow, how did we get there? I want to make note. I did not start this conversation. I don't think. I don't know what kind of segue Sean threw in.
I just got an email right now from Google, and I just got accepted into this YouTube Partners advertising program thing. I'm sure that's what this is from, but it's I guess an email that goes out to all the advertisers advertising on Google. It says in February 2024, Google will update the inappropriate content policy to clarify the definition of sensitive events. A sensitive event is an unforeseen event development that creates significant risk to Google's ability to provide high-quality, relevant information and ground truth, and reduce insensitive or exploitive content to prohibit and monetize features. During the sensitive event, we may take a variety of actions to address the risks. Examples of sensitive events include events with significant social, cultural, or political impact.
Wow.
They're announcing a more robust censorship policy.
Yes, such as civil emergencies, natural disasters, public health emergencies, terrorism, and related activities.
Wow.
If you're related to a terrorist activity, or you're related to a natural disaster.
How many complete generalities did they throw in there? Like, it's basically like under any circumstances, we can limit the information you get.
It literally says conflict, not some other special, just a regular conflict or mass acts of violence. So products or services that exploit, dismiss, or condone the sensitive event. Also, we haven't talked about the event, which has been all over the place this past week or two.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's terrible. I'm the opposite of Lisa on this now. I'm taking that road.
Which one?
Anyway, using keywords to a sensitive event. So basically, if something's happening there, it's another way for them to control. So Lisa and I thought this, that things are coming, and all these power has been given to a lot of Native American nations. It seems that's kind of a good thing, and that I even went as far as saying, I wonder if when the Boogaloo happens, or the the Revolutionary War 2.0, Civil War 2.0 happens, that could be a base of operations in the United States for whichever side, because it's legally separate, nation states, and they would have some kind of legal, place or pull when it comes to the international community. But all this talk about the event, and everyone's talking about all these billionaires that know something's coming. They're all building, crazy shelters, and a lot of it is in Hawaii. A lot of it is where that fire.
Well, they seem oddly unworried about volcanic activity based on where they go.
Yeah, that's true. But all these things are happening, and I wonder if it's just the elite starting to double down on what they've already done to the Indians, and that's where they're going to go, and they're going to utilize everything that I was talking about as far as them being other nation states, and they're basically didn't give them any power or any authority or any way to regulate anything until they're going to go there, and then they gave them, the dams and the electric stuff and the grids and all that, because that's where they're going to go.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This is a weird thing.
It is a weird thing, and I don't know which way it's going to go, whether it's for good or for ill.
Well, and it may very well be a bunch of people afraid of the other shoe about to drop.
Well,
they could very well see that humanity is about to not be deluded into thinking that they've been looted by these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you go back to the founding of our nation, like one of the first things we traded with, I say we, the people that came here traded with the Native Americans that were already here is what the Native Americans were using, which is wampum, which is it wasn't puka shells. It was a certain kind of limited resource of a shell in the ocean that was harvested, and so it was like scarce. Then they would harvest it, then they would hand turn it and put carvings on it, whatever, and so they were these specific beads that then they would trade. During Trump's administration, he put the Fed into the Treasury, and also put a Native American lady, I can't remember her name now, as Secretary of Treasury.
Madeleine Albright.
No, there's a new lady that's anyway, she's Native American, and she's over all that stuff. So anyway, so I think that's part of it, is going back to hard money. And Bitcoin could be part of that too. Like maybe they're using the natural resources of Niagara Falls, or water kind of generating. Think about, there's rumors that the NSA has been mining Bitcoin for years. Maybe it was given back to Native Americans. I don't know. Maybe there's been some redistribution. I don't know. I have a lot of questions. I don't have a lot of answers.
Yeah. I mean, and we shall see. That's going to be a big part of this year, as a lot of the story is going to be playing out before us for the first time. I think that's one of the important things to go into this year with, actually, is an open mind as to what you see, because so much of it is hidden that we don't really know the shape of it.
I think
it's not going to stay hidden too much longer.
It's super interesting, and everybody is at a different different level. Like, say, I remember a lot of the things I'm understanding now. I've been told by uncles in the distant past, right? And I kind of always took it with a grain of salt. Is that really true? They say it is with some authority. I don't know. And you learn what's really there, or what we think might be there, or at least some ideas that better model what you know, as a scientist, you're looking at the world and you're like, oh, that doesn't quite make sense, but that's what everybody believes. So I'm just going to march forward with that belief. And, you know, now a lot of stuff's starting to become more and more obvious to more and more people at different intervals and everything else. But it's interesting watching that as stuff happens. And so often now, it's not like, oh, we get every couple of years something crazy like that happens. Now it's happening at least a couple times a month, right? So I'm just like, you know, I mean, there's a meme right above this. I'm not going to put it on the screen unless you guys want me to, but essentially, I'm amazed at the rapidity with some of these things spreading. It's like it, and a lot of it I think is it's like a false. When you're seeing this stuff being exposed, why did all of these people? Why did that the tunnels scene go viral? Right? I think it's because a lot of people were internally having questions, and oddly enough, in a free society, they're not allowed to talk about certain subjects. So when something like that happens, it just kind of explodes, where it's like, where did this come from? It's because everybody's already wanting to ask this, but they can't even talk to somebody in their church about it or somebody next door about it, right? Because it's like, that is a verboten subject. You cannot talk about that subject at all. So that's why so anything that's censored, not only is it something you should look at, but it's something that's going to, you know, have some huge, profound impact later quickly. It's kind of crazy. So anyway, I think my screen.
And that leads to like preference cascade behavior too, because when these things come out, they just rapidly snap across the entirety of the information space, which is kind of cool.
Yep. Yeah. So anyway, it's happening, and we've talked about that. I can't remember what they call it, but if you have a certain, like 10% of the population that fully believes in some reality, that the tendency is for the rest of the population to follow suit in time, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's a preference cascade. It happens at an accelerating rate.
And so that's what this is. Like I think that we're easily past, from even from what I've heard on NPR on a couple of subjects a couple of years back, that we're way beyond 10%. We're much closer to 40 plus percent.
I was about to say, it's I think we're at a point now where a lot more people are red pilled, and if it had been even 20 years ago, there'd be a lot more action taking. But we're at this point in human or American history, but I think human history in general, where people are so addicted to the bread and circus, they're so conditioned now to just not do anything. And I've said this for years, doing something is completely different. Before, doing something meant you did something. Now I posted a meme, I'm done, I'm out. You know what I mean? It's like I'm an activist. You didn't do anything. You know, memes are great and all, but something has to be done.
Right. Or at the very least, you have to keep sharing those memes over and over again.
You have to force those in charge to do something, because they're not, unless they're uncomfortable. And you have to make them uncomfortable, which means actual letter campaigns, which means actually going to your local congressman, annoying them.
Yeah, going when they speak, going and
I would say a real form of activism digitally is community notes on X. If you manage to get some politician community noted, you've done something activist.
In the chat, that's something I thought was really cool. Venezuela, the new hair guy, he completely threw out digital shit. They're going back to hand ballots, paper ballots, all being watched, harder to fake.
That's a smart move.
It would be great. And someone said it in the chat earlier.
It's what Trump's been talking about.
All votes should be on blockchain and should cost a penny. But I think we're not at that level where people understand that. Yeah. So going backwards to paper stuff. And Lisa has even said, like, a lot of third world countries and other countries, they actually dye their finger or something that's physical that shows you've already done it, so you can't do it again. A lot of the tried and true old ways, I think, are needed.
And you can use blockchain for part of it. Like Trump was saying that they had watermarks on the paper ballots. And that's how it, like, so that part can be used, you can use blockchain for, but the voting itself should happen on paper. And that, I think, is why they say military is the only way, because military like has to reserve their bias politically. That's part of like their oath that they take or whatever. And so that's kind of what I think is going to roll out and how that will be handled.
I got something before we end it that struck me, and it did surprise me because I consider myself to like know a lot of history's underbelly and the things that we aren't taught, which a lot of things I thought everybody knew, but nobody knows. And it's very odd. Like Lisa was completely shocked when I told her that Jews and Muslims and Christians all worship the same God. And I thought that something.
I wasn't completely shocked. You love to put words in my mouth.
You were said I am shocked.
I did not.
You did. I believe you used the word.
I did not.
And flabbergasted. You went. And
I am going to come down there and arm wrestle you.
You went and put pearls on just so you could clutch them. I remember the show. Like, but like,
thank God it's recorded.
There's these things, and I learned something. I know that America was playing both sides with Hitler, and a lot of things have made us kind of devalue or not like Mexico, but Mexico's done a lot for the country. And I mean, I was talking about Cinco de Mayo. We may not have ended slavery when we did without Cinco de Mayo. It's a big thing for the United States and nobody talks about it. But so I knew we played both sides against the middle. A lot of people don't know that Canada forced us to make the right decision because they told on us. We were trying to make a pact with the Nazis, the North American non-aggression pact. Mexico's on board, the United States is on board. We go to Canada. Hey, let's make a deal with these Nazis. They're not going to mess with us. We're going to stay out of it, blah, blah, blah. And Canada went and told everyone on us, and they were like, "Oh no, we weren't going to do that. We don't like them." So
there's a lot of that in diplomacy. Keep the deal secret, right, or the deal's off.
But did anyone here know?
And so that it doesn't upset the opposite.
That there was a huge rally in New York City that overfilled Madison Square Garden with tens of thousands of Americans, and it was all not the swastika's secondary. There was a giant thing of George Washington and America. All these people are, doing the salute, and they're saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America. Duh. They took out one nation under God, but they put everything else in. And
one nation under God wasn't added until way later.
The 50s when they
okay, well then it was. See, that's what I thought.
And that for whatever reason, that Roman salute. That came up when I was in high school in Dodge City. It was Dodge City Red Demons. It was this controversial thing. They'd sometimes somebody would jump up and paint over the red demon on the water tower in town, right? But it was interesting.
It's like the town of Agra in Kansas.
Yeah. So they'd have
somebody painted a VI in front of it.
Yeah, at school conventions, and everybody would do the Roman salute, and then they would say whatever the school chant was. I can't remember, right? And it's like, what is that? What is that? It's just confused about, I was new to town and stuff like that. And I learned then that it's just, in fact, the Pledge of Allegiance back in the day, they would do a Roman salute to the flag. It wasn't hand on heart. Yeah. So that was just
it made me think that when you're not taught stuff and you're not told stuff, it shapes your way of looking at things, shapes your everything. If you don't, if that stuff is kept from you.
Right. Which is why it's wise to keep a mind oriented around the idea that I haven't been told stuff.
Mm-hmm.
True. And that's the other thing, if you want to learn the reality, and trust me, you might want to think about whether you want to learn what reality is. You just keep using your fluoride toothpaste and whatever drugs they're giving you and just keep going. But if you want to learn reality, it's like, look at what's banned. And just like, I think half the stuff that most people think about historical events, Greece, Rome, the English, the British Empire, Germany, Second World War and First World War, pretty much anywhere in the world, there are a fair few of them that, after a long period of time, sometimes the historical view of something changes because we learned more information that wasn't propaganda, didn't allow us to know before, and now there's a lot of it that's censored, and there's a lot of stuff, even online. You think about it, the freaking internet, and it's hard to find some things that they're not even they shouldn't be controversial. It's a
One of the things I
documentary.
found after I go down this rabbit hole are like crazy things Kanye says. You know, like one of the biggest, because it's like how did it happen? How did they get power? And everyone's like, oh, Hitler was just a good manipulator. No, he exposed stuff and he did good things for this country, where everybody liked him, and then he used that power to do bad shit. But he was totally for breaking the central banks. Central banks are terrible. Central banks are evil. Central banks control things. Central bank, and it's true. But he went through that, and then he put himself in power, and then like now I have power and I can do whatever I want. But all that stuff in the beginning of it was like truth and the stuff that we talk about because those people are back in power, have taken over again. But it kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, that's why it's, in my opinion, it's always that same thing that I wonder, why are they censoring it, right? What in the world is,
oh my God, get the Coke back up. I have a joke. It's very inappropriate. Some would say
I'll bring it back.
Sacrilegious. Share a Coke with Hunter, right? You get the joke. But I read the hashtag wrong. And it's with Hunter and what he likes to do. I read Sharia Coke.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
That was bad.
Man. Anyway,
It's like the other day I was looking at a channel on Warpcast and I was like, hotcakes? Oh, hot takes.
Yep. Well, I don't know. So
Not
okay,
about
so we
hotcake
need to
after
cut. We have less than 9 minutes. So is that all right, you guys? I think we covered everything we have to cover, right? Lisa, what's going on this week? What you want to
catch Sean and I's show every Tuesday, half on mine and half on his. Catch us here every Thursday, and check out the Mighty Lair. Post a comment and poke me on there so that I'll give you some lot. So you'll be a co-owner in the Mighty Lair, and check out my new channel on YouTube for my little eBay store. I'm having a lot of fun trying to save some American history and finding little treasures. So that's been a lot of fun. And then we have happy hour every Friday, where we wear something red to remember everyone deployed, and shoot the what. So, and talk about current events, lots of current events. So join us there.
Excellent. Sean, what's going on?
Greg just said he read that wrong. The other night, Lisa posted something on Twitter, which she does every now and then.
What?
She does a lot. Anyway, it was hashtag, and I read hashtag gourd, like a bull. I was so confused, but it was go red.
Oh.
And I read it as gourd. And I was like, what does this have to do with being gored by a bull? It was, I read it wrong. It was hilarious.
And that was at the beginning of happy hour.
Yeah.
Ambiguities everywhere, man.
I was like, what are they doing with their gourd? And then I was like, maybe they're drinking a lot.
Bar game.
Yeah. We got a show coming up tonight. Crypto Rednecks, which I picked. It's all hype shit. I just went total hype. I made some picks last week of number go up. Crypto's 14,000% on some of these.
What?
Yeah, it was because of you actually. So I'm on the show with here Thursday mornings, and we're all, you're the dragon, Dragonchain, you're the dragon. So I go start looking at picks. I'm like, you're the dragon. Let's see what. There's like 5 coins that came out that are dragon coins. Their ticker symbol is even dragon. I was like, yeah, this is going to be total hype for the next 2-3 weeks. I bet for this month.
Funny.
I bet these coins are going to do well. And I said it, and it was like some of them were up 300% like they just released the day before or that day. And I was like, this is it. I said, it's not no long-term thing. These are like not even good meme coins, but these are going to, and literally 15,000%.
So did you sell them? Did you get in and did you sell them? Not as advice or anything else. I don't know if you.
I did not one for like $100, and I said I ain't putting much money into these. This is just
okay. All right, I wonder when you do those shows. And maybe we should all get together on this, or whether it's on Sean, whoever. It doesn't matter to me. I would love to get back to what I used to do, which is looking at these for kind of fundamental. What's the tech really? Could it really be used? What? That's such an interesting discussion. And I'm totally out of that world because all of what's happening.
Lee had asked me a lot of questions. He started watching the show now, and because how we were both very into Dragonchain years ago, and he kind of has moved on. He's asked like, what about Dragonchain? I told him, and he's like, yeah, man, this is like a really good project. I remember I liked it before, but I said, yeah, they're like a real company now. They're not focused on hype or. And a lot of people in the chat sometimes are pissed because you're not focused on hype. You know what I mean? But you're actually.
I consider it. If I were an economist, I would take a company similar to Dragon. There are other companies similar doing amazing stuff, and you look at the gap between the value over here and over there. It's totally it's diametrically opposed to what I would think would be the reality if the system were actually functional. So there's massive issues, which a lot of them are not anything to do with the technology. It's literally the real world and the traditional world just creeping into that and just kind of breaking stuff. So once those things are cleared up, and a lot of that's just knowledge of normal people, then I think
we both talked about it. Yeah. We both want to have you on the show and have you, Greg, come on and
Yeah.
So,
hell yeah!
Anytime, let us know.
All right.
Yeah.
Check Elise out on Tuesday. Check out the shows Thursday nights. We're here on Thursday mornings. Free Assange. Do something. If you're not doing anything, you're part of the problem. So, yeah.
Yes. Right on.
Yep. For my little update, I'd like to just take a moment to highlight to people a current event that we missed or we didn't have time to talk about that would be important, so is worth looking into. Beneficial ownership registration in the United States is now going to be required of every business. We're going to have to send the names of our companies and the names of the people who run them to the federal government to be listed in a centralized database to assist in what they call law enforcement. This is probably a play on the fact that they've got to come up with more taxes because pretty soon we're all going to be just paying the debt service. They're getting things ready. So
that never passed.
So be cognizant of this because I think there probably going to be some people who challenge it this year, and I think it should be challenged and defeated. But it's a story we don't want off people's radar. So that would be my admonition, along with, of course, Free Assange. We need him out, and he's come up and build something. That's how you teach people, is build something.
Yep.
Even if it's just a class about how blockchains work, even if it's just a little thing, do it.
Also, if you have T-Mobile, get rid of it. Switch companies. Look into it. It's very bad.
Really?
Actually, I have some context on that makes it not as bad as.
We have much time left. We have probably a minute. Yep. So, okay, I'll just say, watch this. We have the DINDAO meeting call tonight. It's at a new time. It's at 5:30 Eastern US. And so watch that. I think we have a lot to catch up on there. And I think that Palestine, or let's say Gaza City, should grant sanctuary to Assange and see if it has any effect on anything. And let's see here. What else? Free Assange, free Palestine, all the things we should be doing. Watch us next week. Thanks a bunch. And let me pull up. Sorry, I meant to ask you guys what you wanted to hear, but I'm just going to click something now. All right.
You only got seconds.
Yeah.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.